In the remaining examples in Chapter 3, we're going to create pivot tables and then learn how to create a dashboard using the camera tool. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on the EX 3.27 worksheet tab. If you'd like to follow along, make sure that you open the Chapter 3 classwork.xlsx file from the My Courses and open it up and click on the EX 3.27 worksheet tab. Pivot tables are often counted as the top skills that employers are looking for, so we're going to spend a little bit of time on it now and a little bit more time later in the semester. In order to create a pivot table, we're going to click any cell within the list. It doesn't matter, don't select the list, just click any cell within your table, and we're going to click the Insert tab, and then we're going to click Pivot Table on the left hand side. So notice it selected the range itself for the pivot table. We're going to put it on the existing worksheet, and clicking in the location box, we're just going to click on cell J3. We'll talk about the data model later in the semester when we go into Power Pivot, so we're not going to add this to the data model. We're just going to click OK. So notice on the right hand side we have all of our different pivot table fields, and we have 4 areas: filters, rows, columns, and sigma values. In this sigma values area normally goes numerical value. So in this case the only numerical field that we have is amount. Amount is probably the only thing that is going to go into that sigma values field. So in the first example, we want to look at sales by region by product. So what we're going to do is on the right hand side in the pivot table fields area, we're going to drag region, we're going to grab region and drag it into the row area. And notice what happens when we drag region into the row area. Then we're going to drag product. Notice there's a scroll bar if you can't see it. We're going to drag product into the column area. And then we're going to drag amount into that sigma values area. So we have the total of the sales, but if you look at page 85, what they want us to do is not summarize it by sales, but summarize it by number of sales or the count. So in order to summarize by the count, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. One is in the sigma values area where it says sum of amount. Click the down arrow and click value field settings. Another way to do it is to make sure that sum of amount is the active field, so you click it, and in our pivot table tools under the Analyze tab we'll see active field sum of amount, and we just click field settings. We get there exactly to the same place by 2 different ways. So I'm going to click the down arrow under sum of amounts and choose value field settings, and now I'm just going to choose count instead of sum and click OK, and our table now matches the one that you see at the bottom of page 85. Now it's very easy to modify a pivot table. So on page 86 they want us to add the source, whether it's an email sale or a sale from the web. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the source field and we're going to drag it down to the row area below region. And we can see that our chart matches exactly what's on page 86. If we don't like the layout, it's very easy to change it. So we could drag source before region, for example, and we can now see a slightly different layout. But to match what's in the book, we're just going to drag region in the row area above source. Alright, now we've finished exercise 3.27. Let's move on to example 3.28, where we're going to use the report filter. So I'm going to use the down arrows, or the right and left arrows, excuse me, next to the sheet tab names to scroll through. And I can now see that I have EX 3.28, 3.29, 3.30, and then a sheet for the dashboard. I'm going to click on the EX 3.28 worksheet tab, and in example 3.28 they want us to basically create the same pivot table that we did before, but now use a report filter for the source. So to get extra practice in creating pivot tables, we're going to click any cell within this list, it doesn't matter which one. We're going to click Insert and then Pivot Table. We're going to allow it to select the range. We're going to click Existing Worksheet and click in the location box. And once again, just click cell J3 and click OK. And we're going to drag our region into the row area. We are going to drag product into the column area. By the way, I urge you to switch the rows and columns and see how it looks to get familiar with the layouts of pivot tables. We're going to drag amount into the sigma values area, and once again click the down arrow in the sigma values area next to sum of amount. Click value field settings and then click count instead of sum, and then click OK. So we're back to our count. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click source into where it says the filters area, the fourth box that we haven't used yet. Now we really have to scroll up. Notice our worksheet starts at row 3. We have to really scroll up to see that filter. So now in row 1, column J and K, we can see where it says source all. This is that report filter. So now under source all, we can click the down arrow and we can just choose email and get a count of just the email, or get a count of the web, or just choose all and remove the filter. So now we learned how to use the report filter. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a pivot chart. Now we're going to move on to example 3.29, where we're going to create a pivot chart. So we're going to click the EX 3.29 worksheet tab. We're going to click any cell within our table, it doesn't matter which one, and we're going to click Insert. But now in the charts area, we're going to click Pivot Chart. So we see a similar dialog box that asks for a table or range. We'll choose Existing Worksheet, and for the location we'll just click cell J3. We're not going to add this to the data model, and we're going to click OK. So we're going to build our pivot chart very, very similar to how we built our pivot table. So in our axis category, first we're going to drag region, and then we're going to drag source. We're going to drag product into the legend series, and then we're going to drag amount into the sigma values area, and in that sigma values area we're going to click the down arrow next to sum of amount, click our value field settings, and change it to count instead of sum. Notice we have other options as well: average, min, max, product, standard deviation, variance, but we're going to choose count and click OK. And we have now created the pivot chart that you see at the top of page 88. Now let's move on to example 3.30, where we're going to use slicers. Slicers are nice because it enables us to filter the pivot table or the pivot chart by using a field that's not even contained within the chart. Let me explain. Let me show you what I just explained. So we're going to click on the EX 3.30 worksheet tab. That's the last one we're going to do except for the dashboard. We're going to create the first pivot table that we had created before. So I'm going to click any cell within the table, click Insert, and then Pivot Table, Existing Worksheet, click in the location box, and click cell J3. Click OK. We're going to drag Region into the row area. We're going to drag Product into the column area. We're going to drag Amount into the Sigma Values area, and then change Sum of Amount to Count by clicking that down arrow in the Sigma Values area, Value Field Settings, and then change it to Count, and click OK. Now what we can do is we can insert a slicer. So we're going to make sure, notice we have our tabs over here, Pivot Table Tools, we have Analyze and Design. When we click away from the pivot table, those menu items go away. When we click any cell in the pivot table, it comes back. Make sure that you're in the Pivot Table Tools group, Analyze tab, and we're going to click Insert Slicer. So now, notice all the fields come up. We can have a slicer by something that's not even contained in the table. So for example, by payment. So the table doesn't say whether it's credit or PayPal, but we click OK, and now we have a slicer. We can click credit for only the credit sales. We can click PayPal for the PayPal sales, or we can hold down the Control key to click multiple items at the same time. So that is how we use a slicer. The last thing that we're going to do in this video is create a camera-based dashboards. Dashboards are very, very hot right now in data analytics and data visualization, because what it does is brings a lot of different tables together in one view. So to use the camera tool, we're going to click the dashboard. We need to add the camera tool because it's not included on any toolbar. So to add our camera tool, we're going to click File and then Options right at the bottom. We're going to click Quick Access Toolbar because it's much easier to add an icon to the Quick Access Toolbar than it is to add it to the ribbon. If you want to customize the ribbon, you have to add a new group. We can just add it to the Quick Access Toolbar, and I'll show you where it is when we finish. So single click Quick Access Toolbar, then under Choose Commands From, we're going to click the down arrow, and instead of Popular Commands, I'm just going to choose All Commands. Now watch, there are an awful lot of them, so you're going to have to scroll far down, but we're going to find one that says Camera under C. So here I have the camera, so all I have to do is click the Add button, and I now have my camera under the Quick Access Toolbar. I can change the order that it's in by clicking those up or down buttons. It's okay where it is, and I'm going to click OK. Now what the camera allows us to do is to take an interactive picture. So whatever you select, when you click the camera icon, you're going to get a picture of it, but if you change the original, the picture will also change, so it's very, very dynamic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the EX 3.27 worksheet tab. I'm going to select the pivot table that we created, and then I'm going to click the camera icon. This is our quick access toolbar right at the top of Excel. So I'm going to click that camera icon that I just added. Now I'm going to go to the dashboard, and notice I have a crosshairs, so all I have to do is drag it out, and I have a picture of the table that I just created, and if I update the table, this picture will be updated as well. Now let's add a couple of more things to our dashboard to make it look as pretty as I can make it look. We're going to click on the EX 3.28 worksheet tab. We'll select our second pivot table. Click the camera icon. Click the dashboard worksheet tab and just draw it out. And we now have a picture of our second pivot table that we can arrange wherever we want. Now we're going to use the camera tool to take a picture of our chart. So we're going to click the EX 3.29 worksheet tab. We're going to drag the background of the chart, and we're going to drag it out to a blank area where we have some rows and columns around it. I'm going to scroll out. Now I'm going to select the range around the chart. So you have to make sure that you select the range around the outside of the chart. And now I'm going to click the camera tool, and I'm going to go back to my dashboard and just draw out my chart. So we can resize it and place it wherever we want. And finally, one more practice. We're going to click on the EX 3.30 worksheet tab. Select the pivot chart that we created. Click the camera tool in the quick access toolbar. Click back on the dashboard worksheet tab and just draw out our final chart or a final picture. And then once again, we can arrange our dashboard however it is that we would like. And if we make any changes to any of these tabs, the dashboard will be automatically updated.